That's right. Welcome in. Chasing Checkers, ESPN 102.5 The Game. We are streaming on the Game Nashville app. You can watch us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, everything on our on the webs, on the interwebs. You can check that out. Good morning. Chase McCabe here with you. We're here every Saturday at 9 o'clock here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, talking racing, NASCAR, IndyCar coming to our city. It's all going to be there. But Martin Truex Jr., he goes to Phoenix, and he gets the win. And I think this is big, not only for Joe Gibbs Racing, but for Martin Truex Jr. and his confidence, because he broke a 29-race winless streak with that win at Phoenix, his first win at Phoenix. And I told you last week, who I thought really had a good chance to win. When I was doing my research on Phoenix, Martin Truex Jr. was not a name that I really looked at. Historically, he had not done all that great there. And like I said, it never won, but had a good race car on Sunday for Joe Gibbs, had solid speed, and was able to take over the lead from Joey Logano, who had at least for a good portion of the race, had the best car. But Truex, as the race went on, showed that he had the best car, and he was able to get the win. So that was huge. He only had the one win last year, finished 7th in points. That broke a streak of basically back-to-back-to-back years, finishing in the top two. He won the championship, of course, with Furniture Row, and then finished second, and then goes to Joe Gibbs, finishes second, but not so much last year. But the biggest difference was Cole Pern left the team, his longtime crew chief with Furniture Row, and then the transition to Joe Gibbs. And so James Small takes over as his crew chief, and sometimes it takes a driver and crew chief a little bit longer to get on the same page. And that, I think that's the process that they have been going through over the past 2 years, and now they're on the same page. And so it's resulted in the 5th race of the season with them getting a victory and finding their way to victory lane. Here is Martin Truex Jr. with Fox Sports' Jamie Little after the win.
Awesome job by everybody. James, Blake fixing it, all the pit crew guys. Really, really solid. I thought at the beginning of the race, I thought we were going to run 15th or so. And, I can't really believe it. I'm kind of speechless. This feels pretty amazing. Phoenix has been a tough one for us, and to come here and win this, I wish it was November, but, hopefully we can come back here in November and have a shot at being in the Final Four. But, just so thankful, so proud of everybody at JGR and everybody that makes this possible.
Go. Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. With Fox Sports, and that came up a lot. I watched his post-race press conference, and that was brought up quite a bit about how does your performance today prepare you for November. And I think a lot of drivers that are aiming for the Final Four there in the Championship Four there in November were thinking that, because it's essentially a test session. And as we have seen the last several years, a long time, really under this format too, especially, that you basically got to win that last race to win the championship. Chase Elliott did it last November. Kyle Busch, when it was at Homestead. That's typically what happens, that you got to win that race. And so now that he's got one under his belt here, that certainly prepares him. But a long way to go. This win just ensures that he is in the playoffs when they get to that point. So Martin Truex Jr. with that win, and a good one for him. It definitely was needed. And I've always liked Martin Truex Jr. He's been on the show several times, and it's well documented what he and longtime girlfriend Sherry Pollux have gone through with her battling cancer. And so you always pull for a guy like that, and he's just a good guy in the garage area, and a hell of a race car driver. You think his early days with DEI, it took him a while to get a win, and he didn't win a lot after that. Goes to Michael Waltrip Racing, kind of the same thing. But it was one of those deals where it kind of looked like maybe his career was over. Goes to Furniture Row, and something clicked. They got in Toyotas and hooked up with Gibbs, and he and Cole Pern got on the same page, and they just started rattling off a lot of wins and a championship. And now he's with Gibbs after Furniture Row shut down, and it's continued. So Truex leads the way with the win, led 64 laps. Joey Logano came home second after, like I said, dominating portions of the race, 143 laps led. It's his second top 5 of the season, third top 10. I think he's close to winning, but as he told Fox Sports, second, not so fun.
I was surprised he was able to hang with me on that start. I felt like he had a good start too, but I had a good one on the bottom, and I thought the amount I shortcutted it down the dog leg, I thought, boy, I'm going to have him clear. And then we went in the corner, it was still door-to-door, and when you're door-to-door, the outside car has control of you. And I'm pretty sure even if I beat him on that start, he was still going to hound me and probably get by me. They had the best car. They tuned it in. We had a good car for sure, but once they tuned it in towards the end of the second stage, that was the best car on the racetrack. He just had to get up front, and he did. And so I'm proud of the Shell Pennzoil team. We did a great job all day, execution-wise, staying up front, good pit stops, getting us back up front when we lost our track position, and overall a solid day, a stage win and some points in the second place. So we'll take it. It's not a win. Second hurts, but we'll move on and go to Atlanta.
Second hurts. Yeah, I would imagine. You've heard drivers say that a few times over the years. I know Dale Earnhardt Sr. said second's just the first place loser. But you gotta put those solid finishes together to try and win championships. You can't win every week. You're not going to win every week, and I think that these drivers know that. But Joey Logano with another solid finish. Like I said, his third top 10 out of 5 races. Denny Hamlin, the points leader, comes home third. We'll get to him. Brad Keselowski fourth. Chase Elliott with a solid top 5. Kevin Harvick, he comes home sixth. Kyle Larson, who had won the week before, is seventh. William Byron, another winner this year, eighth. Christopher Bell, another winner this year, ninth. And Ryan Blaney with another top 10 finish, something that he needed to try and work his way back up in the standings. 5 different winners to start the season, which is, I like that. I like seeing different winners and not the same guy win every week. One thing that we have seen over the last few years, and I was watching Dale Jr. download as he was talking about this in his Ask Junior segment, about the PJ1 traction compound. And you've heard me on this show, or Darren Donick and Chase refer to the PJ1 when talking about Nashville and how they'll use it there and what exactly it is. Basically, it's a sticky compound that they put on the racetrack, and it helps the cars stick to the track, get grip, because you hear drivers all the time talking about grip. They got to have grip. Sliding around, never a good thing. So they put the PJ1 traction compound on at Phoenix, and they loaded it up. I mean, they had a lot on there, especially for the Xfinity race. And I thought it was a little bit too much, and I know some of the drivers were thinking, maybe it's a little too much, because the bottom you just couldn't do anything because they were so sticky up top. I mean, that was just the way to go. The Cup race, it had worn off a little bit after the Xfinity race, and as the race went on, it wore off. I think it makes for some good racing. Again, I know, as Dale Jr. was saying, and he's one of them, that it wasn't really as prevalent his last year. I know they used it at Bristol a few years ago after they did the resurface and all of that. But, he's not a huge fan from what I could gather, and some aren't. But I think it certainly helps with the way these cars are set up and the, how the rules package that they're using with these cars. I certainly think that it helps. But Joey Logano talked about the PJ1.
The traction compound was really strong in the beginning, and it seemed like, especially down in 3 and 4, towards the end of the race, was less and less. It was just wearing off. So kind of what you would expect there. I thought towards the end of the race, you run a few laps on the bottom, 4 or 5 laps maybe on restarts before you moved up. So that was, I felt like it was pretty racy at the end.
And it was. I mean, I think it set up for some good racing towards the end of that one at Phoenix. And I would say for the Nashville Super Speedway, that's going to help. I really like this downforce package that they run with these cars and are going to run out here come June. Putting the PJ1 on the concrete track, I believe, is going to help a lot. And so I feel like the show's going to be pretty good. They got 3 days. The trucks are going to be there, the Xfinity Series, and of course the Cup Series. And so I think that's really going to help the product and help the racing. And of course, this show brought to you by Nashville Super Speedway, the Ally 400 weekend coming up June 18th, 19th, and 20th with the Cup race on Father's Day. The Ally 400, you can go to NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets. And speaking of the Nashville Super Speedway, they are going to be having their first on-track, as I can pull up the press release here. They're going to have their first on-track event coming up on Tuesday. Goodyear is going to hold a tire test. This is closed to the public, but it'll be the first time some drivers have been on the track since they announced that it was reopening. You'll have Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Kurt Busch out there testing for Goodyear as they can come up with the tire compound that they're going to use for race weekend. But they're also going to have some legends. Nashville, Franklin's own Darrell Waltrip, the Hall of Famer Dale Jarrett, and former crew chief Steve Letarte will also be in attendance. So looking forward to that and having them out there and seeing race cars on the track for the first time in about 10 years. That's going to be really cool. Speaking of testing, also wanted to mention Bubba Wallace tested the next-gen car at the Richmond Raceway this week. It was, again, a Goodyear tire test. Didn't really do as much with the car. It was more with the tires and how the tires work with the new car. Said the balance didn't really change throughout the test session. The tires do fall off pretty fast, so that's something that they're going to look at. And the car sounded, quote, mean, which we have heard that quite a bit with that engine. So some news and notes. When we come back here on Chasing Checkers, no guests this week. We've got a lot to talk about. NASCAR has shown that they are not afraid to try new things, and this is something that I have been a huge fan of over the past couple of years, really since somebody like Steve O'Donnell and Steve Phelps have been in charge. I think that has been huge for the sport. We will discuss that and much more and what is ahead for the sport. We'll do that when we come back here on Chasing Checkers, presented by the Nashville Super Speedway on ESPN 1025, the Game of the Game Nashville app.
You may go. There is going to be a whole lot of work going on. Shoot us in anywhere, anytime.